we saw the real cool things going on in blockchain and we wanted to be that bridge. And I think just being a trusted entity that is there to educate and advocate for technology, it was more, let's build a little thing, test it in the market. Okay, the market likes it, let's take it further. And it's just evolved in a very iterative way. Blockchain and AI definitely go hand in hand. And then we'll wait until quantum computing comes along and becomes mainstream.
What is my intro?
No problem.
Okay, welcome listeners to the podcast show Marketing for Tech, and thanks for tuning in today. To make sure you don't lose this video, subscribe to my channel. I will put all the links in the comments. So to provide some background, my name is Olga and I'm the founder and the CEO of Begain. This is a boutique agency for marketing and brand management. Today I have a legend, a friend of mine, an industry tech leader, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. And I will give you a nice and short bio about who you are and what you do. So I know that you've been in a corporate and now you in an entrepreneurship journey. So your actual journey spans across different areas of a tech sector, data analysis, then you have emerging technology, blockchain, you have AI, you have a Web3 studio, and you all across everything. And you're also running an DeFi Association, Australian DeFi Association. So there's so many things on your plate. And the first question I actually want to start with is like, how have you ended up being in corporate? And I know you worked in like management consulting, then business development, and then all of a sudden Web3, blockchain, and AI.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of different hats, and you might think that it's only possible because of AI, but even before ChatGPT came out publicly in November 2022, we were still doing many different things. The work to do both commercial work, which is with NotCentralised, that's the company that I'm with now, and we are an emerging technology venture studio, and we'll get into that. But to do the commercial work, but also run effectively their volunteer not-for-profit associations as well, was not something I really pictured myself doing. But I think that, every person, you're either like someone who loves community and getting to know different people, and it doesn't even have to just be for work. I've always been the one that likes to build the connections and join the dots and, just be observant of things that, should be connected. And I guess we kind of stumbled into another association called the Data Science and AI Association. And from getting involved in that and eventually running that group, it inspired us to create a blockchain association when we were starting to get into the blockchain space. And even though there were other groups out there, we just found that there was a gap in the market in terms of the conversation, the type of conversation, and the type of people that wanted to join this group. Because background-wise, if you take a step back, I've come from that data background. So as a data scientist working in finance as well as consulting, coming from that kind of traditional background, entering blockchain was not something that we did early. And it was something where the lens that we had was kind of as that go between the traditional old school non-crypto, non-blockchain world. But we saw the real cool things going on in blockchain and we wanted to be that bridge. And so that's the association. And it was also a choice to do that because the work that we do, rather than NotCentralised just does its own marketing, we felt that, yeah, we'll do that, but we would have much more amplitude in terms of the reach and do much more for the market than just our little selves if we create something that is an enabler to allow people to come and talk together and to learn from each other. And because we have come from both worlds, being that place in the middle. The people that we know from the old world want to come and talk. The people from the new world, they've learned to trust us, and so they want to come and talk as well. So it's a really nice business model, even though they're separate associations. They're all interconnected. You know, they're separate on paper, but there's a lot of joins and connections between the groups. And because we've done, you know, because we're really pragmatic and we're not here to kind of sell and shill and just make money and leave. Like, we want to do long-term things for the good of society. I think we've learned to be, we have been learned to be trusted by other groups like Blockchain Australia and Blockchain APAC and some of the other kind of like data science kind of groups and stuff. So it's, and by government as well. So whether it's local, City of Sydney has been a sponsor for us, or state or federal, and we've done stuff at those different levels. I think just being a trusted entity that is there to educate and advocate for technology has been, you know, something that we didn't expect that we would be, but we're very proud to wave that flag. So yeah, it's wearing many hats. And like I said, right now, AI helps us so much. So I'm glad that it's here.
Awesome. And it's pretty much like your journey started in a corporate, and it's something that you always wanted to do, or it's just, you know, one day decision, like that's it, from corporate going to into entrepreneurship?
It's kind of funny because it wasn't something that I set out to do. And in fact, so one of my co-founders, Arturo, so we used to work together in London. When I moved over there for work, I had a company that I was working for. We were a boutique research agency focusing on capital markets, investment banking, etc. And when we moved it over to London to partner, we entered like a joint venture with this investment bank. When we went over there, Arturo was someone that was hired as a consultant. So I'd only met him over there, and we bonded. And, you know, really good guy, really smart, one of the smartest people, and still to this day, the smartest person I've worked with.
Sometimes you have no idea what he's talking about because he's so technical. I mean, like, this is the seed of the strength.
Yeah, you definitely need to get AI to explain the stuff that he's talking about sometimes. So there's like, it's a good thing we've got interpreters. But
the interesting thing was that even when I left that organization after the JV, came back to Australia, and even though he was over there in London, he wanted to work together. So he has been an entrepreneur for a long time, over a decade. And I was still saying no. Like, I wanted to find ways. I worked for a few different companies back here in Australia. When I came back, I worked for the Australian Securities Exchange, the ASX. I worked for a consulting firm. I worked in accounting, even though like I started out as an accountant many years ago, but then I changed. So I went into data and, you know, working with numbers rather than, you know, the accounting side. So going back to accounting was a bit of irony, but I was there as like a technology director and partner. And even when I was at these firms, I was trying to find ways for Arturo to be able to come here to Australia and partner with the companies I was working for as an employee. I never pictured doing something on my own as an entrepreneur. And it just happened that there were certain circumstances and events where it just led to, well, this is just the best decision right now. And that was in early 2021 to go out on our own. I went out on my own, set up a business that partnered with Arturo's business. So we effectively had our own JV, which made sense. And, you know, that was before blockchain. So a good year, 1 year before getting into the whole kind of blockchain space, which was for us late 2021. We were already working together on a lot of data analytics, data science kind of projects. And then the blockchain thing, I guess, because we just partnered so well, the blockchain thing came about through people that were getting into that space, seeing if we could help them on projects. But yeah, I never pictured going into business together. But at the time when, you know, the certain point I was at in my career, I was looking at executive kind of roles and stuff. And when the things that were I had wanted just weren't there, you know, it's not that there was a ceiling. I could have like stayed on in some of the companies, but I just saw these opportunities that I thought were going to come my way, just not. And I'm like, well, rather than wait like everyone else kind of does, or the majority do, why don't I try to make my own luck, right? And I'm really good at networking, so I thought, let's give this a shot. I didn't, I had a low ceiling on what I thought this would turn out to be. It's far exceeded what we've been able to do. I think we're still undervalued. I think that there's still a lot more that we could do, but even my initial kind of expectations of what was possible, this has gone far beyond that. So I'm glad I did, but this is definitely more, it wasn't set out to be that way. It wasn't the plan, but you just adapt.
You just adapt. And I think this is where I met you for the first time. You're sort of like a few months in your DeFi Association journey. I think this is sort of the first time I met you guys. And you know what is good that you mentioned one of your partner in crime.
Yep.
In your business. So I think that when we mentioned you have NotCentralised, this is one of the project companies that you are part of, and you also built that amazing tool that I personally had opportunity to use. It's called Psych. It's generative AI tool similar to ChatGPT. However, so it's probably the question is like, why have you decided, along with your partners in crime from NotCentralised, why have you decided to build that particular tool? You sort of see the ChatGPT, it's a massive one, it's hard to compete with it. What was the reason behind it?
No, it's a good question. And it's funny because we joke internally because we're called NotCentralised, and the name is because not necessarily for blockchain, but just anything open source and decentralized are things that we are fans. Yep. Yeah. So, we're fans of that sort of stuff. And because because our name is not centralized, it's an ironic, eye-catching, memorable kind of name. We often call things internally, even if they don't go out externally as that, we often call them not something. So I'm surprised because we didn't even do this. Like when we made this tool, when we made Psych, it was Psych straight away. It wasn't not GPT or not ChatGPT is probably what we should have called it internally. So just a fun, kind of anecdote there. But the reason why we did it, it wasn't because, let's just make a copy of this and see what happens. It was not something we initially set out to do. So we were very happy to continue, the majority of our work back then, when we first started creating Psych, was blockchain work. And we were using ChatGPT, which is really the only one that was out there that was useful at the time. We were using ChatGPT to help us out with our work, to do things faster, to get the marketing posts, to ask questions and to test the hypothesis that we would have on projects. And even using it, because it wasn't that great at coding, but it was starting to help. It was really good at documenting code. Coders like Arturo, they don't like documenting things, but you can get ChatGPT to do that really well. So we started off just doing really education, right? So we didn't want to create like a ChatGPT, but through the education and through going out to see so many different corporates and individuals wanting to learn how to use ChatGPT, we were seeing that there was a gap that they were not addressing. One of the biggest is privacy. Another big one is hallucinations. And so on the privacy front, we were teaching people how to fill out the forms that say that you don't want your data to be trained. Now, that still requires trust. You're still trusting a third-party company, OpenAI, to not do anything with your data. And I know that they're big, but still, they don't have servers here in Australia. So it's not like, even if you do trust them, that your data is still going overseas. And so that was a big area to kind of tackle, where the data sits. And then the second one was on hallucinations. And the more that we dug into it, and hallucinations, for people that don't know, the viewers might not have heard of it, but it's that when you ask the AI does not know whether it's right or wrong. The AI will just give you an answer. And yes, it's getting better, but people were just trusting anything that comes out of the AI as being real. And we saw companies and lawyers and academics get in trouble for using output from AI that they did not check. And so we had seen that there was methods for, if you're going to build something, you can build it in a way where instead of just asking a query and getting an output, you ask a query and there's a step in the middle that answers the questions from trusted documents. And so that's a RAG, RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And we think, well, if we can build something that allows people to talk to their documents and the documents sit here in Australia and the document answers are trusted because you can run this RAG model that gives you the sources of information. Let's see what that looks like. And from that first build, and getting it out to clients and people liking it and wanting then to go, okay, we can do that for some documents. Let's do that on our SharePoint. And so, you know, we slowly built up from there. And over the last couple of months, the focus has been on adding extra features. And so we've got AI agents that do the automation stuff. And then we've also got a new feature called Dreams. And, you know, it sounds like the hallucinations thing, but for us, hallucinations are a bug, but dreams are the feature, because AI, when you do it when you build it in a certain way, it's actually really powerful to get insights and reasoning and even the dreaming of what the AI can do with the data that you give it. It's like a really, really, really smart assistant. And the dreams feature that we created, which we can get into the detail of, I think that's probably the most powerful thing that's out there right now in terms of everything in the tool. For me, I use the Dreams for projects, for LinkedIn posts, for doing research, for doing creative things, or for planning. It's one of the best features that's out there. But yeah, Psych, to go all the way back, we created it gradually. It wasn't like we set out with the intent, let's make a rival to ChatGPT. It was more, let's build a little thing, test it in the market. Okay, the market likes it, let's take it further. And it's just evolved in a very iterative way to the point where now we're looking at growth into North America, as well as Australia, obviously. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, but it's just been very adaptive.
And, you know, well, first of all, I will have to go back to my Psych account and check a dream feature.
Yep, definitely.
And I'll definitely let you know how I'm going with that. And also, that's another thing that I found for myself, and this is how we had a conversation before. So because of a Psych has this layer of security, so that's it's everything, all the information. That's what you said. The documents can be stored in Australia. It's stored actually on cloud. But the information that you put in the chat, it doesn't. It is connected to OpenAI, but it doesn't go in the format of how you put it in the input format. It's created code, so it's created encryption, and this it's to OpenAI, which is like your information. Even if you want to analyze or work with sensitive information, you know that the layer of security will stop that data goes to the OpenAI as it is.
Yeah, it's definitely layers. There's different layers, and you know that part of that is that your queries are vectorized. They're turned into really long strings of numbers that you can't easily decipher. And a second part to that is that even though we're using OpenAI, and we will use other models, there's Mixtral, there's other open source models out there, but even though we are using OpenAI because at least to date, they've been the one that has the best models, the best reasoning. GPT-4 has been the king, or GPT-4 Turbo, which is what we use, has been the king for a long time. And there's arguments that Claude has surpassed it, but
Claude as well.
So
actually sometimes find it sometimes better than ChatGPT-4. So I use the tool that actually has this both models in it.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good to actually have both models, and you know, there would be no further advancements if there wasn't competition. But just going back to it, the way that we use OpenAI is through Microsoft, because Microsoft have 49% ownership. When we use our calls to OpenAI, it's OpenAI sitting under Microsoft. So it's OpenAI that's sitting in servers in Microsoft in Sydney. So our calls are staying here in Australia. And so it's the data sits here, the queries sit here. that kind of stuff has been really helpful for some clients where data privacy is really high priority. And I think it's what stops a lot of corporates from having a strategy around these things, because right now, at least, it's very much like cloud when it was first coming out, when you had Amazon coming out and people were stuck between on-premise and having servers in their office, you know, in a side room, versus going to the cloud. Like right now, the cloud conversation is just very, you don't even think about it. It's like, yeah, there's some reasons why you don't want stuff on cloud, but for the majority of people, the government trusts cloud providers. So I think we'll get to that stage where we don't worry so much about like where certain things are happening in the AI. I think data will always sit here for certain use cases, but yeah, we're still evolving basically in terms of what people accept and don't accept. But yeah, we've got those layers of protection because, going back to it, privacy was really important and is really important for businesses. And then we built out other features on top of that, because some things are just hard to do. GPT, when you've got, you know, going back to the dreams thing, if you've got a really long conversation thread and there's something at the top that's to do with, you know, the project or the company, and you need to make a change at the top there, and then, you know, you restart that conversation from that branch. So it's a tree branch. So now you have to go down the branch in another way. But with the dreams thing, imagine like a whole bunch of post-it notes that you can create, and they can be really big post-it notes or small, but you can make changes just in each of those post-it notes. You can use the AI to make changes. And when you do a query, the query is only on what's in the post-it notes in that dream. So you can have another dream with a whole set of different post-it notes that could be about a client. You've got one dream, which is about all of your clients. And you can do things like, if you're a startup hub, and I just put a video out on this, you might have information about all the different companies sitting in your startup hub, and you ask the AI, you ask Psych, which of the, like we're going to launch a new service, which of the companies here, based on information that you have, which of the companies are the ones that we should offer this service to, you know, and the AI is going to use this really powerful reasoning engine to get you those answers faster than a human could. So, you know, it's really
incredible.
It's incredible. You know, it also, think about this, right? And this is something we're not far off of. If you and I are working in the same company, and you're working on, you know, you're using dreams and you've got your notes and you use the AI in your way, and I'm doing some other projects, it should not be up to the humans, only up to the humans to figure out, hey, where are the things where we should collaborate, or where are the things, or, you know, can you tell me again, Olga, like, where's that project that you told me? I think it's similar to this thing I'm working on here. No, it should be the AI. If I'm working on something, the AI should tell me that this sounds very similar to a project that Olga did 6 months ago over in Japan, you know, and the AI tells you that you should talk to her, or the AI gives you the notes. And so organizational knowledge, like, it's going to become like this. And you see these tools where it's like, hey, now we've got our document tool with AI. We've got our other tool with AI. That's what companies are doing now. But I think that instead of going, how do we get AI into our CRM? Or how do we, you know, get AI into our Zoom videos or whatever? That's useful. But I think the really powerful thing is when you don't even think about the tool first, you think AI first, and then you think about the interactions on top of it. Because if Salesforce started today, they would probably not build a CRM company the way that you see it right now. It would be built very differently if they had generative AI. And I think that's where the great unlock is going to be. And, you know, we're trying to help companies. You know, Psych effectively wants to be the engine that other companies use to build tools. So we're starting off building some of our own tools, but eventually it's going to be the engine that will power a lot of other things. So it's exciting. We'll have to show you a whole lot more, obviously.
Absolutely. That's incredible, because there's so many things like you can add now, and you probably a couple of years ago, you wouldn't even think about that, what can be done with the help of AI. Well, yeah. Mark, that was incredible. So now I can see how it's connected. Even your journey was it's a really incredible journey. You know, not everyone comes from the corporate to entrepreneurship and then ended up building the tool that's changing lots of business operations. And probably my final question about, like, what's the biggest plan for Psych if you would think about Psych, like your the part of your team, like what is Psych doing in 2024?
Yeah, very good question. I think it's doing two things. So one is that it's helping save the time, or it's helping save resources, and resources are time and money and mistakes. You've only got a limited amount of mistakes that you can make as a business before you run out. So, mistakes are actually a resource as well. And I think that Psych, on the one hand, is helping you utilize the resources that you have of time, money, and staff and mistakes efficiently. Okay. How is it doing the mistakes thing? It's like it's helping you make less mistakes because you get to ideate with the smartest, the globe. It's not just the people in the room, but you get to use the collective knowledge of GPT or Mixtral or Claude. The collective knowledge and power of AI will help you make less mistakes and test hypothesis. So that is one, making things more efficient. Secondly, I see it, and this is, what we're building. We've already done it with one where Psych is being used as the engine. And what I mean by that is that it's not just, for example, one company we're working with doing ESG surveys, right? It's not just an ESG company. They're now an AI company that is powered, or they can still be an ESG company, but they're powered by AI. It's not that they're just inserting it in certain things. No, the whole thing is built on top of the AI. And what that means is that questions get answered by just uploading documents, and humans get involved when the AI can't figure out what's in the documents. People answering questions, they get to have a little assistant that tells them what is going on, rather than they have to go figure out, like, what does that term mean, or what's the definition of this? Like, no, the knowledge is there, and it's powered by the Psych engine. And I see a lot more different products being created based on the Psych tools that we've created being that engine. And so yeah, those two things. Some people will just use the basic, what we've got with Psych, and then others will create tools on top of it. And in both ways, I see a lot of great things happening for businesses, like reimagining how we think about and use knowledge. I think is really going to be the key for all of this. So yeah, we're trying to make that future happen.
Awesome. So this Psych is going to be your that will help with efficiency and will become eventually the core of your business. So there's something that you can operate, having a one or two tools, and you can operate the whole entire business.
Exactly. And I mean, the blockchain thing, AI helps with a lot of blockchain projects, and that's why we've done some work with Blockchain Australia and other groups. And but I also see that blockchain is also very useful for securing things in the AI space. And so whether it's to validate that, a human has read the output from an AI, and we've got that in Psych, that there's a blockchain related element in there with a zero knowledge proof as the way that you sign off on things. But I see a lot of other innovation, not just from us, but from other people as well, using blockchain to help, whether it's decentralizing the knowledge in AI or being able to just trace certain things, so that if your inputs go into the AI, that there's a record of that sitting on a blockchain, so it can't be, pretended that you don't exist, right? You have a valid claim to the rewards that come from those AI tools. It's almost like a DAO, or like, these decentralized kind of ownership tokens of products. Applying that to AI, I think we'll have a really good future. And obviously we're doing that in finance. There's still blockchain projects going on, but I can see a lot of benefit in the future from decentralization of how we're doing stuff with AI. So blockchain and AI definitely go hand in hand. And then we'll wait until quantum computing comes along and becomes mainstream, and we'll figure out a way to integrate all of that. So
and then we will have a second interview then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was incredible. Thank you for sharing what you've been doing and what your business are doing right now, and a Psych, as we were talking about, like a business partner now. And thank you so much for everyone who was joining, and you stay adaptive and creative. Empower your brand.
I mumbled a little bit.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much, Mark.